Okay, so you want to create a page where you want all your students to see the courses they are enrolled in. Well, I'm going to show you how you can build that with JetEngine, but take a look at how that works. So I'm currently logged in as an admin. So if I switch to a different user or a student, a fictional one, Jackson Reed, you can see all the courses Jackson Reed is enrolled in. Also, when I switch the user to a different student, you can see all the courses that this student is enrolled in. So how do we make that possible? Well, in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how we can use JetEngine Query Builder to show the enrolled courses for the current user, that is a student, and create a listing based on that query and style it however you want. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so before we get into the nitty-gritty part of this whole tutorial, we need to make sure we have our plugins installed and activated. And here, the necessary plugins we need to have is a page builder. In this case, I choose to use Elementor. You can decide to use Bricks or Gutenberg, or whatever page builder you are comfortable with. And also you need the JetEngine plugin, because this is all we're going to be using to build our queries and listing. And lastly, you need to make sure Learndash LMS is installed and activated, as this is what you're going to be using to build your courses. An optional plugin here is the WP User Switch plugin, because this is what I'm going to be using to easily switch to a different user to test if the enrolled courses are displayed correctly. In this tutorial, I'm not going to be building courses from scratch. I already have them set up here in the Learndash courses. I have 4 courses: Subscribe Like a Pro, how to subscribe without even thinking about it, Subscribology 101, Mastering the Ancient Art of Hitting the Subscribe button. And these courses are already enrolled by students. So let me show you exactly what was done here. Here we have 2 students, fictional students by the way, but they are already registered on the website. And as you can see here on the right side, they are already enrolled in 2 courses each. Let's say our first student is called Jackson Reed, again a fictional name, alright, and he has 2 courses. Let's see what these courses are to be sure they're completely different from the others. Okay, I'm gonna filter this, and I can see the courses Jackson Reed is currently enrolled in. What about the other students, the other fictional students? We can come here and change to Jason Clickworth, filter, and you can see he's enrolled in completely different courses. Now this works fine here. We can see the courses enrolled by different users. Now once this user are signed in or they are on their course page already, we want them to be able to see the courses that they enrolled in, and we want to be able to style the listing of these courses according to our own taste. So how do we do that? The first step is to create a query. Now let's head on to our query builder here. Come here to query builder, and we're going to create a query. Add new query. And here you have to give it a name. It could be anything you want. I'm just going to call this enrolled courses for current students. That is a user. Okay, so this doesn't really matter. It's just an identification of this query. Okay, so next you have to come to the query type, and we're not going to be using post query. Instead, we use the SQL query. Why are we using this? So we can select from the table, and in this case, we want to select from our SQL table. We want to select the user meta table. Why are we doing this? Well, because that is exactly how Learndash stores that data. When a student, that is a user, is enrolled in a certain course, it creates a dynamic meta key in the user meta table, just like this. Here you can see the user ID is equals to 4, the meta key is equals to this, and I assume the meta value for this key is recorded in timestamp. But that is not the point. The point is, from this, what we understand is a student with the user ID of 4 is enrolled in the course with the course ID of 101. Basically, the course ID is stored in the meta key of the user meta. Now we understand how this works. Pretty simple, right? Okay, so the next step here is to come back to the query and select from the table user meta. Okay, Now we want to make sure we have this toggled on, the preview results, so we can see what we're fetching. And as you can see here, we have 71 result counts. You can see the meta key here is nickname, meta key here is first name, last name. We do not care about any single one of these meta keys. Instead, we care about this meta key here that looks like this. But bear in mind that this meta key holds the course ID, which is somehow here within a string. So this is dynamic. So we can't simply just copy this and ask it to look for the items that have a meta key like this. So what are we going to do? We're going to use a regular expression to create a pattern. If we can just simply come here, copy this exact thing, then add a new query clause, and then come to column here and say we want to see all the items where the meta key is equal to this string right here. And now we only have one result count, just one. And that is because you recall that this is supposed to be dynamic. This should hold the course ID. But now it seems like we're defining the course ID to find. So what do we need to do? We need to create like a pattern, a regex regular expression pattern, and I already have one created here. It looks exactly like this. I'm also going to copy and paste this in the description so you can use this in your project as well. But you don't really have to learn so much about regex, but I'm going to explain how this works. So basically what this is saying is fetch me the meta key that has this string as the prefix and has this integer in between and has this access from string as the suffix. Basically what we're saying is if the meta key looks like this, then print it out. But it's not working, and that is because we're saying if this meta key is equals to this, then give me the right data, but it's not fetching the right data because we're using the equal operator. So we need to switch this to the regex operator. And when we switch this, it's going to give us the right value. And now we have 5 results counts, and every result looks exactly like the pattern. As you can see, the meta key here holds the course ID, which is in this string. So basically you can fetch the course ID from each of these items right here. But that is not all. We need to make sure that we display the ID alone, because now the ID is kind of trapped in this long string. We do not care about this string or this one. All we care about is this integer right in the middle of it. So how do we print out that integer, or in other words, the ID of this course that is stuck in between this string? We're going to do a little bit of trick here. We're going to come down inside of our query builder, come down to where we have the include calculated columns, toggle this on. Then we have to create a new calculated column. Here we have to select the column to calculate the value by, and in this case we want to calculate the meta key here. So we click on this, select meta key. Now the calculation function, we click here and we have to select custom. The reason why we're selecting custom is so it gives us that opportunity to enter once again a regex function, so we can filter out the strings we do not need and then display only the integer part of that entire string. What do I mean? Well, I'm just also going to drag in this copy. I'm also going to paste this in the description below so you can easily use it in your project. So I've pasted it right here where we asked to define the custom column. I'm using a regex function to display the right data right here, which is the course ID. Once again, you don't really need to be a pro with regex, but I'm just going to explain what this does. You see this thing here? Well, that is an instruction from here. It says we need to use this string to pass selected table column name. So that is what we're doing here. We're simply passing the selected column name, and here we're saying only fetch the integer part of it, that is 0 to 9, right? It's an integer. So we're saying display the integer part of the entire string, filter the text out. That is exactly what we're saying. And you can see it does that perfectly fine. You can see here the course ID is printed out correctly. But here you can see we have a custom meta key here. So is there a way we can change this to an ID? Yes, here we have the alias option. So we can replace this with ID, and at the right side you see here we have ID, which displays the actual course ID. I can boldly assure you that we just finished the complicated part of this tutorial, that is printing out or displaying the course ID, which we have just done right here. So now we need to make sure that we can see this as a post. Now we need to scroll down to here, and here we have an option to cast result to instance of objects. The reason why we can see this std class object is because it's by default it keeps the std class. So we have to change this to a post, since course CPT is actually a post. So we click on post here, and as you can see, the ID here, which is the course ID, is printing out the right values here. Okay, so that is good. That is exactly what we need. We need to be able to print out all the enrolled courses using the ID, but we also need to display them based on the current user, right? The user enrolled in these courses. Now we have to go back to where we have our query clauses. We need to add a new clause here, and what we're going to say is the user ID from the user meta table has to be equal to the current user ID. And now we can see for the current user ID, which is 2, as you can see here, I'm a user and my user ID is 2. This is the course I enrolled in. You can see the course by its course ID, which is 99 here. And that is what we have to do in the query builder. We need to make sure that we have the courses that are enrolled by the current user displayed by the course ID, which is this right here. This works fine. So now we go to the next part, which is building our listing. But before that, we need to make sure we save this query. Click on add query, and here we have our query saved. So the next thing we have to do is come to the listing here. Then we have to create a new listing, create new listing item. Click on this. Then the listing source should be the query builder. And we're going to select the query we just built, which is this one we just built, enrolled courses for current students or user. Click on this. Then we have the listing item name. We can simply call this courses for current user listing. Oh, okay. So now you can choose to edit this with whatever page builder you have installed. If you have breaks installed, you should find the option here. If you want to choose blocks, which is the Gutenberg editor, it's fine. That is totally up to you. But I'm just going to be sticking with Elementor for this tutorial. So I'm going to create listing item here. Just like I usually say in my videos, I don't want to spend too much time designing. We just care about the functionality at this point. Okay, so I'm gonna come here and just make this a little smaller just so we can preview it, right? And I'm gonna add the featured image, dragging an image here, and select from the dynamic tags featured image option. Click on this. Okay, it's not displayed right now, but it should be on the front end. Okay, I'm also gonna add the course title here. Just drag it in here, and I'm just gonna adjust this a bit, or maybe give this H3 or whatever. We don't care at this point. Okay, so we're also gonna add the dynamic tags and display the course title, which in this case is also the post title, and that fetches correctly. Okay, I can just make this image full width and maybe give it a border radius of 25 pixels or something. Okay, and maybe I'll make this a little bit smaller. Normally I use a dynamic font, but we don't really care at this point. All right, so I'm gonna publish this, and we're going to head over to the page where we want to display these courses for the user. But in my case, I'm not going to be creating a new page. I'm just going to be using the home page here. You can add this listing to whatever page you have created for your users. I'm going to be using the home page. So I'm going to click on this, and I will add that listing to this particular page here. I'm going to come to widgets, search for listing, drag in the listing grid here, then select the listing. I can't remember what it's called, but I know it's listing. Okay, now we have the listing here. So as you can see, we have the courses that are already enrolled by me, which is the current user. Okay, now this is just me as the admin, but let's see how it looks on courses end. So I'm going to publish this, go to the front end, going to remove this, and I'm going to switch the user to one of the students. Okay, let me see what it looks like on Jackson Reed's end. Click on Jackson Reed. Oh, okay, so we can see it's print out the right data, right? Jackson Reed is enrolled in these courses and it has it displayed correctly. Okay, that works. So let's go and check how it looks on Jason Clickworth end. Okay, so we have the right data displayed here, which is very good. Exactly what we need to do. We need to show the enrolled courses for the current user, and as the current user, which is Jason Clickworth, we can see he has only his courses, that is his enrolled courses, displayed for him right here. Okay, just a bonus tip, right? Right now we don't have, nothing is clickable. We didn't add any button or anything, so I'm just going to switch back to my admin account and just make this clickable. So I'm going to come here to listing, edit this listing, and make this listing clickable. Okay, I'm going to come here and say listing settings, make listing item clickable. Then of course the link source is going to be the permalink, publish. Okay, then I come back here, refresh, and when I click on this, this should go to the course page. This isn't designed yet, all right? So this is just a demo to make sure it's linked to the right page. Okay guys, so I guess you understand how this works correctly. So you can go ahead and style this listing exactly as you want, and you're not limited to the kind of listing Learndash provides you by default. This makes it very easy for you to own the design and create the listing according to your taste. Alright folks, that's it. If this video really helped you, please do well to like and subscribe so that people can find it. And if you want more JetEngine and Learndash tricks, please do well and say so in the comment section. And please do not forget to subscribe, because I recently found out that over 80% of those who watch my videos regularly do forget to subscribe. So please do well to double check to see if you're subscribed to my channel. Alright, so if you got questions or ideas for the next tutorial, also link them in the comments. I'm always happy to help. Alright folks, see you in the next one. Bye.